friends of mine were going through some fertility issues. Going to do acupuncture is much less socially ostracized. It's not this fringe thing that you're going to
Oh,
do
it's
on the
not fringe
outside.
here anymore.
Good. So I've been gone for a minute. So walk me through this here. How did you even get into acupuncture in the first place?
Another good story. I was in the entertainment business after college. I spent 5 years in various phases of that: production, development, acquisitions. I spent the last 2 years at the leading talent agency,
Okay.
which people would give their left arm to be at. We had lawyers from Stanford and Harvard working in the mailroom for minimum wage because they just wanted to get their foot in the door. And I had, by being there for 2 years, two of the top guys wanted me to work for them. And at that point, I was feeling I was suffocating. I felt like I couldn't breathe. And so I called up my homeopath and I said, what would I do if I want to do what you do? Because I was really impressed with how he helped people. And when he gave me the answer, it's like God parted the clouds and said, this is what you're going to go do. It was really a weird epiphany. And people thought I was nuts because here I was leaving the place that everybody wanted to be at. After that, people would come in from that environment and say, oh, you're so lucky you got out.
It's funny how that works, right? Yeah.
But and I haven't looked back. I mean, there was times that I thought, gosh, was I crazy? But for the most part, it was very satisfying to my soul to be able to have some intervention in somebody's life, whether it was nutrition, acupuncture, meditation, energy work, whatever that was, that just dramatically took them from where they were to a much more free, healthy way of living. That is how I got into. And then I went to China for a year and studied at one of the top 5 traditional Chinese medical hospitals. So as another person who's been implanted into the Asian culture, it's a great experience. I think every American should go experience another culture because we're a little cultural centric here.
More Americans than anyone, I would say. And I don't know if that's necessarily. I think it's actually a combination of obviously the natural barriers of the oceans, but also we have this tendency to isolate ourselves for better or for worse. And that applies to even some of the crazy. Nobody wakes up in the morning and it's like, oh, it's super normal today, right? Like some of the crazy situations happening worldwide, it's the same thing where we have a tendency to feel that we are separate from. Versus like no. These things on the other side of the oceans are going to affect us, and they are affecting us whether we can consciously perceive it or not, right? So if you wanted to experience another culture, I would say Asian culture in particular is so different, right? I think we talked about Spanish, right? Like your brain processes it. You don't understand necessarily, but you kind of grasp, right? When you're talking about Mandarin or when you're talking about Japanese, it's so different that you can't even process or comprehend.
Well, what is really interesting, because I didn't go there as a young person, we did go with 2 young people, and they, of course, learned it way faster than we did. They were making fun of our accents after a year. They're like laughing at us. But it's really, to me, it's a welcome thing when you can stretch your bubble of perception and see things in a different way. The poverty in China was really immense when I was there. The average person made like $300 a year. It was really a lot, not a lot.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and as I was teaching English, and because I was a foreigner, things cost more. So I got paid 4 times what the average university teacher got paid.
Wow.
Which was $1.25 an hour. I mean,
it's just like, wow, fallen, right?
and so, but it was just so, again, like you're talking about, it's another world. I mean, I saw people going up and down the sides of a mountain with a bag of rocks on their back for a bowl of rice a day, barefoot. And when you see that, when you have that perspective, I mean, I saw toilets that looked like they were out of Stephen King novels. You just get a reality check that, the world isn't all America. And when I came back, when you hear somebody complaining because they have to wait for 10 minutes in a Starbucks line, it's like...
But you have Starbucks. Right? Yeah.
It's like, these are first world problems.
Yeah.
And I really think we should have an experience of what so many others... So just to have basic humility.
Yeah. And also recognize what we do have.
and appreciate it.
Yeah, it can get worse, like a lot.
Oh, and it could get worse so fast if we just don't pay attention to basics.
And it seems like we aren't in a lot of different ways.
In a
which,
lot of different ways. And I think part of the thing is that we're falling prey to this polarization. And we all know from algorithms that it's not hard to just figure out who's on 50% of one equation and 50% on another. And you can have two groups that both think they're fighting for the good guys and they hate each other.
Yeah. Isn't it, I heard a good quote the other day.
But who wins in that situation when
Nobody.
I saw this great GIF. It's a king on a, balcony with his advisor looking out, and the townspeople are coming with pitchforks and with torches. And the king's sweating bullets, and the advisor just leans over and says, "Oh, sire, you don't have to fight them. You just have to convince that the people with the torches, that the people with the pitchforks want to take their torches away."
And it's where we are today. I mean, pretty much worldwide. So
I did interview a wonderful man named Dr. Ming Wang, and he escaped the Cultural Revolution.
who actually, I've been to his doctor's office. We
go.
talked about that, right?
There you go.
He's worked, yeah.
And he came out with a movie called Sight, and he said people who most appreciate their vision are people who didn't have it, because he's restored vision and
His whole life.
and he's had the immense gratification of being able to do that. But he says people who appreciate freedom are the people that have not had it. And he grew up at a time where there was a lot of cultural craziness. When he was at a university and the Red Guard was storming, they broke, I think, 32 of his mother's bones. And she spent 2 years in bed, being tended to before she was able to walk again. Things can get really nutty when people have, and these by people that they didn't even know. I mean, for no reason other than
You're the bad guys.
You have stuff, and we want stuff, and you must be bad because you've got stuff, and you have an education we don't. So yeah, it can get nutty quickly if we don't. His whole push is to come together on common ground because statistically, I think we all agree on 86% of stuff.
Oh, yeah, if not more, right? So let me ask you then, in terms of your work and Joe's work, I think obviously there's a polarization. I mean, obviously politically, but also in the spiritual sense, right? In an education sense, in multiple senses, I think people are really becoming aware more or less, right? So for Joe in particular, and again, the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because we happen to just be there. But he's talking about like transform so that you can transform the world, right? Like that's kind of his motto, more or less. Where do you see this going? Because I do see such a polarization, both negative and the positive. And I say the positive gets highlighted less, but it's out there. And there's some people really getting involved, really want to see the positive change, really looking inward for the change, right? And trying to get a message out there, not in a guru sense, but like we actually can change the world for the better sense.
What's going on, guys? If you like that clip right there, you will love the full interview. You can check that out right there. I'll see you on the next video. Oh, and subscribe because we got a lot of big things coming up in the near future.